All right, everyone. I got my boy, my brother from another mother, same father always, JR Rivera. I met JR at a mastermind. What was that? 2019, something like that.
Yeah, 20, I think it was
Yeah,
right
yeah.
after COVID.
No, it was definitely before COVID because otherwise we wouldn't have gone. We went out shooting somewhere. Remember on that bus trip? We were in Ohio somewhere. We went out shooting.
Oh, was that before COVID?
Yeah, yeah. You were sitting on that bus next to me, and you're like, "Who is this crazy guy?" Remember?
Who is this crazy son of a gun?
Yeah, you sat next to me, and you're like, "That's why I was
I,
telling you about
I
75 hard and
wouldn't
all
put
that
it
stuff."
that way. I wouldn't put, I sat down and you sat next to me,
Oh,
just
okay.
dropping some knowledge on me.
I don't know about that, man. You were already, running and gunning.
But yeah, that's right. You got me to do my first 75 hard. And then I found out that you didn't do it, you little
Yeah.
sneaky guy.
Yeah, I had fallen off. I mean, I eventually did it after that. So yeah, man. I love the journey you've been on. Since I met you, like I've got to see it unfold and and talk to you about it. Your journey from where you were to where you're at now. And man, I just see you. You're much more fit. You're much more present, and you just seem at peace. Where the JR, like kind of that I met a few years ago, was just like the hustle and the hustle, and nothing wrong with the hustle culture, but it was more about the achieving and the doing more. And honestly, dude, I love this. I love the other JR. This JR, I love even more. You know what I mean?
Well, the feeling is mutual. And actually, when I think back to that time, it actually was a bad time in my life, and you were one of the pivotal moments, meeting you and talking to you and you telling me about 75 hard, where I started taking back control of my life. Because the time that you met me, I had been kind of not doing anything, no masterminds. I was out on my own doing my own thing, and business wasn't great, and I was looking for answers in all the wrong places, looking externally for answers. And I plugged into that mastermind, and thankfully I met good guys like you that steered me in the right direction, because that 75 hard helped me take control of my body again. And then when you're taking control of your body, you got to take control of your mind. When you're taking control of your mind, you're taking control of your destiny. And so you helped put me on that path. So thank you for that.
Oh man, thank you for receiving it. So you started with 75 hard. And I love how you said that. You started with the body. What did you learn from 75 hard that, because like for me, I remember one of the things I learned was like the negative relationship. I grew up in a Latin culture similar to yours, where like food and eating and like drinking, like that's how you bonded. So, and then it created a relationship with like the food, the rice, the beans, the this kind of food where like overeating and then anxiety, and then you would eat, like it just created a bad relationship, not good or wrong. It just didn't serve me. That was one of the hardest thing. I didn't find the workouts hard and everything, because I was already doing that. For me, it was really the nutrition.
There was, again, man, it's so funny, because at that time I would have just never talked to you again if I knew that you hadn't finished that first one. But I was like, oh, Ray's giving me sage advice. I got to listen to him. And one of the things that I learned that still serves me today is the idea, and you were the one that gave me this damn idea of stacking. And you're like, oh, I'm walking the baby, I'm doing my exercise, we got to stack. I'm getting my mother-in-law, we're stacking. And so I think that goes back to the idea that more culture, though, that's built into us, more, right? But I think that idea of stacking has morphed to efficiently doing things that check off a few boxes and being able to be 100% present in those. Just like you said, like this morning, I took my son out for a walk, and we do morning walk, coffee, cookie, walk around the lake and playground. And being able to do all that serves multiple different purposes, right? It's bonding time with the kid. I get to teach him things while we're out there. We're learning physical activity and actually getting vitamin D3. We're showing him a lifestyle that not everybody else has. How many kids have their dad on any day of the week get to go for a walk, go to the park, go get a coffee, go get a cookie? That just doesn't happen. And
Mm-mm.
so that was one of the big ones, is learning how to put things together that serve me to live the life that I want. And that's something that I carry with me today.
I love that. Feeling your son, and I know that the way we grew up, I mean, I didn't get that, and I'm pretty certain you didn't get that, right? So,
Oh,
we're breaking generational type stuff here. So 75 hard, and then what else? What else kind of along your progression? What else shifted? What else grew that peace, grew that consciousness? What else did you start adding in that you're like, man, I've got to make some changes here? What drove the from a consciousness, spiritual, whatever that side? What drove that? What did you realize? Hey, something's missing, or what drove that desire to like fulfill the soul, for lack of a better term?
With the, I mean, I needed something to do with the 75 hearts. It gave me a mission. It gave me marching orders, and then inside of that, I was able to start looking at what, and we're always looking at this. I think we should always be looking at what's important to us. Who are we today? Who do we need to be? And so at that point, I made a decision, and it was a tough one, brother, because like I told you, I was down in the dumps. Uh, Business wasn't great, and I was looking for answers. But at that point, making that decision and making that change, seeing the difference, because dude, I did two back-to-back 75 hards, because remember the first one on day like 67, I missed a picture. And I just said, well, I'm going to go ahead and get to 75 either way, no picture, finish that, and then do a full one right after that. And I shed a lot of weight. I shed like 20 pounds because I was on keto to go with that. And so my body looked different, but it wasn't wasn't what I would consider good. I just lost a lot of weight. And inside of that, when we're thinking of a deeper philosophical picture, I was getting rid of all the toxins, getting rid of all the garbage, shedding things that didn't serve me, like all the bad eating and all that stuff. And to strip myself down and let all that go just showed me that once again, I've done this all my life as I lead with my body, and then and then the mind and the heart follow. But
Mm-hmm.
if I can change my body, could I change my life? Could I change my attitude? Could I change my relationships? What else could I change because I did this? Right. So it opened up the door to seeing what other things I needed to be the person that I wanted to be, or said that whoever I said I was.
Yeah, you're always one of the guys that's always kind of on that cutting edge of like gap and like really thinking in frameworks. And that framework keeps coming up for me of like, look, who you say you want to be and who you're actually living, there is a gap there. Even now in my life, there's a gap there. I look at that gap weekly in different areas, right? But instead of the gap thinking of like, hey, this goal or the XY external thing, the gap I look at is, hey, in the area of me being a husband, how am I being? In the area of me being a dad, how? So it's not. So the gap is more of a being gap because it changes, right? This, if you're living in space and time, my hypothesis is that there's trade-offs, right? So, hey, in this area of abundance, I'm not stepping up in that area the way I'd like it to be, but it's more about how I show up. So the rating isn't in terms of like net worth or this. No, for F all that, right? That's secondary. My primary thing is how am I showing up? Because if I can be conscious about how I'm being, that's what I really focus on now. And it sounds like that's what you did. You're like, hey, if I could do this, I said I wanted to be this way in my body, and I wasn't living like that, but now I'm congruent and I'm living like that. So I gave you like, because what a lot of guys do is they don't want to look at that gap. They don't, right? They pretend like,
Denial.
hey, right, hey, I'm gonna go make more money. I'm gonna go be better at business. Or I'm gonna go do this thing, and you don't look at, yeah, but your relationship with your wife or this other thing is messed. And I'm not saying one or the other. I think you can have it all. But a lot of times people aren't even looking because they're afraid to look. So I love A, that you looked, and B, that once you did look, you did something about it. And then 75 harder, that changing the body gave you kind of, hey, let me look in other areas. So what was the next area that you said, hey, there's a gap here, I want to address it? And then what did you do there?
I think it opened up the door because I was shedding things, right? I shed weight. I shed bad habits like the eating and the drinking. And by the way, I have not had a drink since way back then. So it's been over
Awesome.
4 years
That's awesome.
that I haven't touched alcohol, which was another blessing. And what that did was it made room in my life for other things. You get rid of things, it creates a vacuum, and then nature is going to fill that vacuum. And so with me, that's where the kernel of faith, of spirituality, of getting connected with my father up above, that's where that opened up the room for that. And it was just a little bit and a little bit, and every little bit I got, I wanted more. And today it's one of the leading things. I think I shared with you that flipped pyramid that my man Mark Acosta put me onto, is like flip the pyramid of everything you're doing has got you to this point and you can't get any further. Maybe you should do the opposite. So he talks about flipping the pyramid. And so most people like us who are chasing things are going to put the money, the status, the power, all that stuff up top for some reason. I don't know why that's up top, but my man Mark's helped me realize what really belongs up top. Are you being congruent with who you say you are, who you want to be? I want to be a good father. I want to be a good husband. I want to leave a legacy for my family. And so if I'm doing all this chasing after business goals, then what's left for the family, right? Because I'm putting all my energy over there. And so my family's up top, but even over that, and this has been a transition, I'm sure you'll want to dive into a little bit more. Over my family, brother, is my fitness. And it used to not be like that. But if I can't take care of myself and be strong, how do I take care of them? And so my fitness, and then on top of that is my faith, right? So I'm stacking my day with faith. Start with rosary, start with reading the word, start with those meditations and positive messages. Then I get some family and fitness time mixed in, right? And then I get my real fitness time. And then I'm giving the leftovers to work. Like
Yeah.
right now, look, with all due respect, Ray, you know I love you and I want to be here with you and all that. This is my leftovers, right? I already did my day. Nutrition, taking care of homework, family time, time with the kid, all that stuff. So this kind of like work, and my work is to spread the good word of what we're learning, right? I think that's why we're doing this is, hey, we're learning. We don't know it that well, but we can give you some insight on where we are and how we got here.
I love the framework of the pyramid, and I use the framework I told you of the kind of the being and kind of like the wheel of life, but I call it like a wheel of being, and I kind of look at those areas, and I found that for me, there's like in that wheel of life, there's two areas or the wheel of being that really drive everything for me. The first one was like you, spirituality, some kind of spiritual practice first in the morning, meditation, whatever that is for you, whatever that is, where you feel a divine connection, where you're actually not just reading about it, because reading it's important. I mean, I love the reading part, but actually having a connection with the divine, knowing that you're not separate. And then the second one is I found that too, that in the fitness, like once I started to feel better about myself, and then kind of the fitness became a spiritual piece. Like it's kind of like embodying the spiritual as I work out. Like as I work out, I'm saying phrases as I'm connecting to myself. I rarely listen to headsets when I'm in there working out. I'm present with myself. I'm present with myself. So it becomes like a spiritual movement practice. So yeah, I'm doing a very similar thing. Family third,
And then finances at the bottom
and
of
then
mine.
and
So
then the rest
the
of it fills in.
leftovers is the little thing, right? The
Yep,
leftovers. So for instance, I'm talking to you and I want to do this and I'm here and I can be here 100% because I've already poured into my family,
everything
into
else.
myself all day. So even earlier this morning, boy's getting ready. Instead of me yelling at him, hurry up, hurry up, I sat down and banged out two pieces of work that moved two projects forward. But it's just the leftovers. I'm not saying my whole day is working around interviews and appointments and making money.
I get it,
I'm looking for something different, and I'm looking for that now.
dude. The pivot you made and the pivot I'm made, and so it's awesome. We make them like kind of the same way. So there's a lot there for other guys to pick up. Let's give them 100. It's a hard pivot, guys. Like because you're talking about changing your way of being, you're going down this river of change. The old emotions, the old ways of being, the old habits are gonna come up. How did you address that when that did come up?
Let's talk about that because I'm going through it right now.
Yep.
And that's what I want you guys who are tuning into us to understand. It's never finished and you will be tested to see if you are worthy. And so for me, right, this just started recently because we're talking about the biggest change where we're talking flip the pyramid is the latest evolution. And this started in June when I did work optional June. Work optional June. What's that mean? We got a condo at the beach. I got my family. Work is optional. It's just the way it's going to be. No appointments on the calendar. I don't want anything. And that's the way it was. And right before we took this trip, we lost about 100K in recurring revenue, Ray. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, right. That's
And
what I said
recurring
too.
revenue.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I was like, holy smokes. And I didn't say holy smokes. You know what I said, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you said.
work optional. And here's the thing. Most of us, I mean, we're go-getters. We got here, we got that hustle, we got that grind. We're going to do what we got to do. Most of us in that situation, myself included, are going to say, time to turn it up. Forget work optional, time to turn it up. And I could have done that, except, Ray, except that the year before I said I was going to do work optional, we got hit with a much smaller loss around the same time. And I said, turn it up, turn it up. Let book out the calendar, all this stuff. I'm working every day over there. And the business just goes down, down, down.
Wow.
I knew, right? So I knew I was being tested. So when that hit, I was like, Oh man. Well, I guess that'll make it easier while I'm away this month. Less clients. Because I was being tested. Are you going to go back into your recurring patterns and do what you did the last time? Or are you looking for this new level? And so by doing that, it opened up that dialogue with my wife where she's like, I don't know what's different, but you're funner this year.
I love that.
Yeah, she made up a word, funner.
That's
And I'm like,
amazing, dude.
damn, okay. And I'm like, wait a second, wait a second, wait. This is the person I care about more than anything in the world. My son is like, dude, this is the best vacation ever, all this stuff. And I'm like, huh, everything I want is happening right now, right here. So why am I looking elsewhere?
Hmm.
Why am I looking anywhere else for answers? And that got me looking inside again
Hmm.
and asking myself, are you being congruent? Are you who you're supposed to be? Are you living the way that you're supposed to live? And Ray, the weirdest thing happened. I came home and did a review of a journal because I got to do my quarterly review. And I found in February I had written my perfect day. Here's my perfect day. Bang, bang, bang. And I'm like, and this is one of those divine, God's whispering to you, where I look down at it and overwhelmingly what I hear in my ears is, why not now? Why perfect day written right here? You wrote that in February. Why not now? Why can't you live this? Why not? All right, look, I'm just going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get up with no alarm clock. I'm going to pray. I'm going to have time with my family. I'm going to exercise, and I'm going to leave the leftovers to work. Right. And I'm like, hey, all hell's breaking loose. What could be worse? So I'm going to try it out and see what happens. But dude, every time you try some of this stuff, you're going to get smacked
Yeah.
to see if you're worthy.
You're gonna get tested, and like you said, to see if you're worthy, because you are. One of the things that kind of like struck me as soon as you said that is you had the awareness to step back and say, "Oh, hold on, I'm getting tested again," because you had that experience in the past, and you're able to stop in the moment and pivot and make a new decision. A lot of guys that I see, they're running the program, the ego, whatever you want to call it, the program is running on automatic. So how did you get the awareness to say, whoa, 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 I'm being tested again? Was it just a pain? Like, what do you follow what I'm saying? Like,
Oh,
dude,
it was
a
the
lot.
pain, Ray.
Yeah.
No, it was that pain that I felt. And it wasn't only, see, so I'm fortunate. I'm really, really lucky because I work with my wife. I'll call her Cupcake, but we work together. So we get to see all the ups and downs. And part of our analysis last year was, hey, one of the biggest mistakes we made was making you work harder when we were supposed to take that time off. We knew that going into this year. And this year just boom, boom, we started stacking money, right? We started stacking money. Everything was going. It's easy to forget all that.
Yeah.
Because now we're stacking money. And
Yeah.
then we get hit with that thing right at vacation time. And that's the thing. Is I told you how this happened for me is like I would have normally just then said, all right, book up the calendar. Let's start talking to people. Let's start beating the bushes. And I was praying one morning, and that was one of those divine things. And I shared this with you privately, but I sometimes get answers when I'm meditating, when I'm doing my rosary, when I'm praying, and the words I'm like, you know, all right, I know what's up. You're testing me, got it, get it, but what do you want me to do? Right? What do you want? Fine, I'm here, I'm listening. You got my attention, but what do you want me to do? And it just and it's weird that it came in Spanish, but it was tranquilo,
There you go.
tranquilo, like relax.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you're reminding me about grace. You're reminding me about surrender. You're reminding me about this pain I felt the last time and making a different move. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Tranquilo it is.
Yes. No, I love that because living by the Spirit, when you live by the Spirit, is a life lived by grace, and when you live by grace, His will is your sufficiency, right? His will is your sufficiency, right? The grace is your sufficiency. It's not JR's effort is his sufficiency. You know what I mean? Easier to say, but much harder to like actually surrender and have grace. Because the old JR would have said, "F the vacations, we're working."
That's exactly what I did the year before. And it did not work because I went into Ray. I mean, I don't share this publicly at all, but there was days I got up asking, like, what am I doing? Is this it? Why am I here? Like I'm so tired. That's what I would say, which I thought was weird because it's not my personality, and that not something that would
Mm-mm.
normally come from me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so tired. I'm like, let's go get it, right? And it was just like, I'm so tired. Why am I like, I went through a depression, bro. Like I was down, and then I'm like, um, yeah, I tried that. Don't like it. Let's make a new decision. Let's write a new story.
And this was you when you were like that, and I appreciate you sharing in that funk. That was when you made the old decision of, hey, we're going to
No
work through
decision.
this.
Yeah, and it didn't work. And shit went downhill. Oh, there. I've been trying not to curse, but things got even worse. Like
No,
things
I get it.
got
I
even worse. And I'm like, what am I doing here?
No, but you know what's great, Jay, is you got the lesson, bro. A lot of guys don't get the lesson because if you don't make a new choice, because I believe, in my consciousness and my understanding now of the spiritual process of the way God works, that the universe, God, source, infinite intelligence will send you the test. You don't pass, that test is coming again. It's like, because God, spirit, whatever, they want you to get the lesson. And if you don't get the lesson, they want you to come back home. And if the lessons are part of the things you got to surrender and, like, in essence, shed, you're shedding the old self, right? This idea of like dying to the false self, like you're shedding that old self. So yeah, I'm proud of you that you had the awareness. It just sounds the awareness really for you came from pain.
Pain. Pain.
Pain and suffering. No, dude, most of us wake up through pain and suffering. I mean, that's what drove me on my spiritual quest of, like, for me, it was, dude, I'm not fulfilled. Like, I've got this money, or I've got this, and my wife is still telling me that they get the leftovers, the family, and the way of being. And I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like, you make all this money, you do all this stuff so you can do all these things, and then you're still not fulfilled. I'm like, all right, something's missing. This is backwards. And I love that kind of podcast you showed me where you're like, because you make the money to kind of search the fulfillment. That's not, you make the money so you can be happy. That never works. Like, and
Let's
again,
make the happy.
yeah, let's make the happy. Let's make the happy. And the what I'm finding lately is once you make the happy, the money kind of takes care of itself. Like you still show up to things, right? But there's more grace, there's more flow, and then it happens in ways where you're not expecting it.
Right.
It's been my
That was
experience.
that was and you put me onto that book, didn't you, with the Surrender Project? And that was one of those
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that timing while I'm going through these changes and then listening and saying, okay, well, that's what I've been practicing in my faith because I'm not driving, God's driving. And what I'm supposed to be doing, the way I believe it is, I'm supposed to start with worshiping Him, following the word, gaining wisdom, and then bringing that wisdom to other people, bringing the light to other people. And so if I start there, how can I go wrong?
yeah.
Right? How could I go wrong? That's what He wants for me. That's what I want. So stop talking about it and be about it. That's what I figured out. Is like, okay, well, that's fine. Then I'm going to do that. I'm going to flip the pyramid. I'm going to live my perfect day. Why not now? Why can't I have this now? I can actually experiment for the next 90 days and have this and see what happens with the business. It's not going to kill me, right? But what could it do? It could improve my life 1,000,000%, right? The odds seem to be in my favor on that one. And so I'm dude, it's an incredible time right now, but the most important part is I know I'm not in charge of it. I'm in charge of doing the service that I'm supposed to do. And I know that's weird and that's hard for us guys that are go-getters, but like you said, and like we read in the Surrender Project, the things that come, you're not chasing them. Now the right things come into your area when you're ready for them and you can take full advantage because you're clear.
No, I love that. I mean, that came to me in a meditation recently about, I kind of had a meditation. Like there's a book I sent you, I think the Infinite Way, but this one's
Yeah.
called Living the Infinite Way. So there's like a second little book to it. So in it, he's like pondering the meditation, God is, like, say God is, and then take that to the meditation. I said, well, because you want to know what God is. You want to know the realization of that. Like that's kind of what the book talked about. Like knowing and reading is one thing, but you want to have a personal relationship. So I said, all right, I'll try this out for a few days, right? God is, and just kind of sit there and quiet and just kind of wait for the things to come. What came up when you said the quote, I said, whoa, it came up through like, no, God is the pilot. See, if he's the pilot and you are the co-pilot, you can make suggestions. Hey, I'd like to, what do you think? You're driving this plane, but it requires you to let go of that wheel and then he drives it. And then like your personal will and then his will become one will. But ultimately he's driving the plane and you can have some, hey, let's go. Wouldn't it be cool to go over here? Right. But it just kind of like settled everything. I'm like, yeah. And you know what, JR? It felt a lot better. Like it
Yeah.
just felt a lot better. I didn't want all that weight on my shoulder of me having to control things and drive outcomes and force things. I don't know. Half of the stuff I'm doing, I don't know if it's gonna work. You
Yeah.
know, like like I was driving myself crazy, man.
That's what we do. And that's what we think we're supposed to do, especially people that may have grown up like us, where the only solution to making more money is working more hours,
Yeah.
right? It's a very confusing thing. And letting go and letting somebody else control your destiny. Who, what? I used to think that way too. I'm like, oh, this for everything's thanks God. What about the work you did? I used to be that guy. And I get it now. I feel bad about that because yeah, thanks.
I
Thanks, God.
yeah,
Thanks
I
for
used to
showing
be
me
that
the
guy.
way.
We used to be that guy telling the other guy, you just gotta work harder. You just gotta do more. You gotta go to more masterminds, learn about more marketing techniques. And again, I'm not judging these masterminds or these things. They have their place in time, but it's the ego leading that conversation, not the spirit. Right. And you can still do those things, but if the spirit's leading the conversation, man, it changes everything.
Changes what we're looking for, man. Like, or the questions that we're asking. Like, really, the questions that what really matters, man. Does it matter how I can get one or two more clients a month, or how I can have an everlasting impact on my child's life by spending time with them? I mean, really, what?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, the two. I don't even think that they're the same thing. But that's the stuff that you have to know, right? That's the work that you have to do, and that ego and keeping up with the Joneses, and it's tough, man.
Yeah, and I
It
found
is
that
tough.
the hustle culture and the masterminds and the things I was in at those times, they didn't reinforce that. They talked about that, but they didn't live that. And again, I'm not judging anybody. It's just like if I wanted something different, like this wasn't really happening over here. And what I found is that the extra money or the extra client I got from buying the extra rental or raising or doing the extra deal, my kid just wanted to go to the park. I didn't need any money. The park is free. Like it, like they didn't want any like they didn't want to go fly private to go to Disney. They just wanted to go to the park.
Yeah, there. I forgot who it was. I think it was Corey Carlson who told me kids don't need your presence. Presents. They need
Mm-hmm.
your presence.
Mm-hmm.
Presence.
Yep.
And I think it's the same thing. Like we're homeschooling our kid this year because that thing. Like when I looked at my perfect day, and this is another one that comes from Marx too. He's like, you're only 2 to 3 decisions from total disaster or living a whole other life. And when I was looking at my schedule and the things I didn't like, getting up with an alarm clock, driving the kid to school in traffic with crazy people picking him up from school, traffic, crazy people, doing 2 hours of homework and having him every day doing this stuff. It's like, so one decision we can make is take him out of school, and then it clears up 8 to 10 hours of our day. Like,
That's awesome.
holy smokes, right? And now
Amazing.
we get to hang out with him, spend time with him, educate him, do what's important. Today we played cash flow. I'm like, yeah, we're
Perfect.
doing math. We're doing math with cash flow. He busted my butt, bro.
That's
He got
awesome.
rentals and stocks and wrecked me. But it's like we think that this is for somebody else or it's not possible. And what I think is try it. The old puppy dog close. Try it for a month, try it for a week. I don't care what it is, but try something different that you don't believe is possible. You're reading Jonathan Livingston Seagull, right? All the seagulls tell
Phenomenal
him
book.
you cannot fly like that. You're not going to break warp speed. You shouldn't be doing those tricks. And he's like, what? Huh? Why not? Boom. He's doing it. All of a sudden, he's doing all the stuff that everybody told him he couldn't do. And that's the way we grow up. All the stuff that we couldn't do, the way our parents programmed us, what school told us, what our culture told us, what we can't do. Hey, guess what? I can do work optional June. You can too, maybe, if you set it up correctly. That's just the way it is. If not, maybe there's something else that you want to
Well,
do, but you got
well,
to
no, I
try it out.
love that. I love Jay. What you said. The other thing I forgot to mention is that I love that you said, "Hey, we're going to try it for a month." You're committed to it for a certain period of time, right? Because that takes kind of the fear out the window. Hey, I can all. You can always go back to the hustle, grind, put work first, and let your family and let your fitness and let all that other stuff get the leftovers, and right. And usually a lot of people say, hey, I'm gonna live in the word, I'm gonna be in the word, I'm gonna abide in the what a beautiful word, abide. So good. Good for the soul. But actually be there, right? Jay, are you laughing? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but you're laughing because you know what I mean, right? A lot of people think when I say that, they think, but when you abide in it, when you dwell in the secret place of the Most High, magic happens, right? Talk about, Jay, was there inertia or as you shifted into the spiritual part, which then furthered the fitness part and the family part, was there like what obstacles, what hurdles did you have to overcome? Talk to me about that process. How did that unfold?
It wouldn't be worthwhile if there wasn't some pain and some resistance along the way, right? We wouldn't grow if we didn't hit resistance, just like with our muscles. And yeah, man, in the fitness in the 75 hard, imagine 2 workouts a day and keto eating in a house where people love carbs and stuff like that. Yeah, there was friction there. There was resistance. My wife did the best. I didn't recognize how hard she tried to help me with that. I know it now because nowadays I do most of the cooking because I'm the one that's picky about the way I eat. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing that I can do so that I reduce friction in the house. But,
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning, I didn't know that. And so there was that resistance, right? And then when I started coming into the spiritual thing and when I came out with the idea, right words, right person, right time. I'm a fisher of men. That's the work that I do at the podcast factory. Then I'm getting tied into all this faith stuff. And she's like, whoa, 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 where are you going? And she was, what we talked about after a while was she was afraid of being left behind. And I did not know that. I
Oh
didn't
wow.
understand that. And so now, like, we're both up on our faith together. And it's the same way like we did when we were snowboarding. We went from skiing to snowboards together and we learned and progressed together. And now we're strong together. It's the same thing with the parenting. It's the same thing with the faith. It's the same thing with the businesses. I mean, if you have that partnership, that's a blessing. But yeah, there was resistance to that. There was resistance to when I was leaning more into the word, but then she came along. And I guess, I mean, there's the other resistance is like, am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing this? And all the self doubt that
The
goes along with
the
that.
inner
Yeah.
resistance. Talk to me about the spiritual resistance and then the inner resistance, because and then ultimately what drove Cupcake to then join in? Was it your behavior? She's like, all right, hold on, he's got something. There's something here in him that I want a piece of.
I think that's part of being a responsible leader, right? We're men. We're supposed to lead our family and we're supposed to lead them to what's good for them. And our partner is supposed to trust in that we are delivering that. So how could being more fit or how could being closer to God or being more generous, how could any of that be bad for us? And so I started leading the way by example because that's in my DNA. Boy, I'm going to roll my sleeves up and I'm going to get in there and do it and show you guys. But in this case, it's a good thing, right? It's
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But yeah, the resistance inside is, do I want this change? Is this really, is this going to work? Uh, who do I think I am? Why did I do this in the first place? Like when things start going bad. But I really feel like through the last couple years, and maybe in particular, I guess it would be the time that we've known each other, the little kernel of faith just kept growing. And I kept looking in there because, like you said, we can read the word, we can talk the word, but are we living the word? And so, and the more that I read, and this is how we're chasing wisdom. That's what I like to say. We're chasing wisdom. And the way that we gain wisdom is that we read the word, we contemplate that word, and then we put that word to work.
Yeah.
And so somehow in this period of time, that little bit of faith that I had, that little mustard seed, just kept growing. And as it kept growing, I kept getting answers and getting more in tune and getting more hungry. And the more hungry, the more connected. And the more connected, the happier, more at peace. Like right now, bro, I mean, I'm not out there chasing clients. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm doing what I want to do.
Yep.
Right. I got time with my family. I got time with you. And
Yep.
I feel good about it. And here's the thing, right? We talked about that hit, right? That big money hit. Oh man. And you said, oh yeah, that was chunky. That's a
Yeah.
little bit, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then when I look at it and when I go hit my bank account, I have money for everything I need plus, right? I have all the money I need, everything's paid off. And so mental sabotage. Mental sabotage is like, oh shoot, we lost all this money. I got to hustle, but my life didn't change whether I had those clients or not. So why would I be jumping through those backflips of trying to do stuff rather than saying, oh, okay, well, let me be grateful about where I am. Let me be grateful about what I have. And let me ask the Father what he wants me to learn from this or what I'm supposed to do. And let me just continue on that path. There's been something about letting go that surrender, that has helped me find more peace than anything else I've ever done in my entire life.
I love that, man. It's about like unbecoming, right? Like unbecoming who you thought you were to be who you really are. And I love the piece of like, hey, Father, Holy Spirit, what would you have me do? What's your will for me? More guys ask that.
Tranquilo.
Huh?
He
What?
said, tranquilo.
Tranquilo. Yeah. If more guys ask that question, like, and whatever way you practice, whether it's a prayer, meditation, whatever you believe in, like do it your way. But if more guys surrendered and had that practice, but you kind of saw the fruits of that practice, you said, I'm gonna start a little bit, I'm gonna do more. You were willing, and you saw the mushroom seed grow, and then you kind of kept nurturing it as you saw it go a different direction and start to fulfill you at the soul level. So I love that, man. And I love how you said too about embodiment. Like you start to like hear the word, you abide in the word, then you start to practice. Not perfectly, right? Because no one's
No,
perfect. This is why it's called practice. You're gonna mess up, you're gonna fall back, get back right, get right back on. You're gonna go back into the old personality, you're gonna go back into the ego, you're gonna go back into that whatever you want. I mean, and it goes different ways. They call it the flesh, and in your world, you go back to the flesh, go back to the spirit, right? So just kind of it's a constant renewal of going back. So I love that. How'd you get Pumpkin to come around? Just once she not Pumpkin Cupcake, once she saw you be different and show up different, because she'll test you too. Because my wife tested me too on this stuff. They just want to make sure that you're committed to this.
I want to say that the thing that I believe started attracting her to this upgrade, right? Us 2.0 or 3.0 or
Mm-hmm.
whatever version we are now. We've been together 19 years, I think. So we've been through several iterations. Uh, but I think that what started it was the generosity piece. And that was one of the biggest things I learned from you guys in that mastermind, was that idea of giving more, where I started really, I mean, I started giving as much as I could. And I like to say, give till it hurts. If I have a number in mind and it doesn't hurt, I need to raise that number a little bit till I feel the pain.
I
And when
like
I feel
that.
the pain, I've given just enough.
I like that, dude. I love that. Give till it hurts.
Give till it hurts, right? Because I mean, when we think in terms of for me, it's my Catholic faith. I think about God, and I think about how generous He was. Right? He gave us His Son, and that was to forgive our sins. And we know we're not about to sacrifice our kids for anybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't have that level of generosity, and that's one of the other things I like to say is you can't outgive God. So I can keep trying to keep trying to give, but I'm never going to get there. And that's what I love about giving is it's endless. But I think when I started being more generous towards the church, towards the charities, towards the school, towards the things that I cared about, that caught her attention because that was different. Like, okay, getting fit, eating, all that stuff. We played around with these things, hustling, getting deals. Okay, but what is this thing, this new thing, this giving thing? And from that, she wanted to join in on. She wanted to give too because oh well, yeah, well that looks cool. I want to get in on that, and she is in on it now. We're giving partners, but I think that was the first thing that got her attention, and then with me giving to the church, and not only that, but our process of yeah, we were doing the Sunday Catholic thing, go to the church every week and all that, but then wanting more, right? With the giving and being in the word and then wanting more of the word. And then we got into faith formation for our son. So we actually had to start teaching him this stuff for faith. So now we're all doing it as a family. And now, all right, well, I'm doing a rosary. Oh, you're doing a rosary every day? All right, well, I'm going to do a prayer. And here's a little prayer book. So I think it was started with the giving, and the giving just ties in with the faith because that's what we're here to do. God put it, I mean, you and I, how much stuff have we sent each other back and forth? We're put here to give. We're here to give, right? And so that opened up the doors to getting deeper into the faith and being closer as a family to that. But yeah, there was some resistance, but leading by example with the right things brought her around. And now my son, he loves God. We talk about God. We talk about God daily, right? We pray
Awesome.
2-3 times a day.
I
We go to
love that, man.
church. We do all these things. We listen to Catholic programs, and even the version of history. I'm doing a curriculum of history that ties our faith with history events so that he's learning them at the same time.
I love that, man. I love that you've incorporated this into other areas because, like, if you are gonna live and flip that pyramid in your framework of, hey, I'm gonna live faith first, and then I'm gonna go, faith, spirituality first, and then fitness second. Well, then those two areas that I call them the two drivers. Those are the two drivers that drive everything else. Well, then those flow through all the other areas of your life. They should flow through all the areas of your life, right? That's kind of like
Become
if they're
strong.
primary drivers, they're going to drive everything else, right? So, one thing I wanted to that you had mentioned before that I'm curious to get your what that means to you now, maybe what that meant to you before. You said this thing about legacy. You want to pass on a legacy to you and your family. What did that mean to you before? What did that mean to the old JR? And what does that mean to you now?
I don't really know that I had a concept of legacy because legacy is something that rich people think about. Right? When we grew up, ain't nobody thinking about legacy other than their
Oh,
last name or passing on their genes. So I'm not sure that I had a concept of what legacy meant, but it seemed like a cool idea. Today, I mean, nowadays people, I'm passing the mansion down and the trust fund and all that, but that's not the legacy, not the way that I think about legacy. And my thing is, I've got this beautiful human that God has put with me, and I'm so lucky to have this guy. And my job is to form him into a good man, a man of virtue, right? And so that to me is a legacy, teaching this kid how to think, how to act, how to be, how to give.
yeah, man.
Those are the things that I think about. And the lifestyle that we have. Like I tell him, bro, hey, pal, I bet that 9.5 out of 10 of your friends aren't walking around in the park in the morning with their dad. Just letting you know,
Yeah.
this is not how everybody lives. So showing him the way, not just in the faith, but in the way that we live, showing him that so that he can pass it on is huge. And the other piece is the work that I do. Like my work is actually my legacy. And what I like to say is the right words from the right person at the right time can change a life. And I have the good fortune to help connect many, many people out there who are listening to podcasts with experts that are going to say things that could change their life, shape their life, just like Ray telling me to get on 75 hard and to stack and all that stuff. And that put me on a different trajectory. There's always going to be somebody saying something. And if you're tapped into the right people, something that could change your life for the better. And that's what I do every day, bro.
You're one of the guys that, one of the few guys I know. I mean, I've got a lot of guys in my circle, but within that, you're one of the few guys that listen, that if, hey, this is working for that person, you'll actually listen and implement. And you're like, yeah, I'll go ahead and try that. I'll go ahead. I mean, I spoke to a lot of guys about 75 hard and different things, or even, I was early on the spiritual path, like putting it out there and like, it's a little bit like not edgy, but it's a little like, it's counterstream, right? It's like, dude, we're all doing the same thing and it isn't helping. It isn't leading to more fulfillment or more peace or more true inner joy and a way of being. It isn't giving us what we want. We're chasing this generational wealth from a monetary standpoint where we want to leave our family set up forever. And like, that's, and again, nothing wrong, not judging it, but like, that's not what I want here. And then just kind of flipping that script where now like, hey, yeah, I do want generational wealth, but generational wealth isn't about money. It's about the consciousness of abundance. It's about the consciousness of giving. And when I mean abundance, infinite supply, I mean supply comes from within you, from within the kingdom of heaven inside you. It comes in from you out. That's supply. Supply isn't what comes in. That's just like a secondary function of, and even where your supply comes from, JR, is my latest kind of work around that, and I'm still early on it, but the supply that comes back to you, JR, like the bread you catch from the waters that come back from the infinite abundance that you put out already. Through you, it comes out, and then through God, it comes back to you. It's not that your supply is coming from these clients. Your supply is coming from any other clients because it's coming through them from God. You follow that? Like I was like, whoa, this is deep. Like it took me a little bit to get to that one, but I sat with it and I keep sitting with it. I'm like, man, this is true.
It begins and ends with you, the alpha and the omega.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just having, it's coming through you. So yeah. So, for me, legacy and generational wealth now, I mean that it's a way of being. It's a way of being where I get to show them, hey, daddy's meditating, right? All this stuff. Like my mother-in-law has been here for like a week, a little less than a week. And dude, she started reading a spiritual book. She sat
Right.
down yesterday and meditated. And like, And I go, you can't be in our environment, because my wife does this too. Like, so my wife is reading these spiritual books, she's meditating. Like, you just can't be in our environment and not get upgraded. Like, you just like, because we're always. She's like, she asked, she goes, does he meditate for that long always? And Chrissy's like, no, he didn't start like that. Don't look at him. Don't look at this right now. He didn't start like that, Yeah, man. So just man, I'm just really proud of you, man, from all the work you've done, all the work you put in. And like, one final question: what was the hardest inner obstacle to overcome? Because you said there was some inner voice. Because I find that comes up with a lot of different guys, is the inner talk, the inner ego. That still comes up for me at times. What do you do? What do you do when that comes up, or and as it came up throughout the process?
It's that piece that we talked about. If you can get here, and look, I'm not saying that I've got it down or anything, but I'm trying to tune into it, and it's really the surrender, the letting go of control, and being okay with not, like, we get tied to this idea of a result and how we get to that result. And I don't think it has to be that way. And that's the thing that I'm still struggling with, right? Because me, how I operate, I'm a very structured person, right? Everything's to the minute. That, like, this whole new, dude, I'm sitting here in flip flops, and I just came with a backpack in the afternoon to my office to do this with you, right? That wasn't me before, right?
Yeah.
It's like structured, and we got to get this on the calendar. We got to have reminders and all that stuff.
And what are we going to talk about? What are the bullets? What are the key takeaways, Ray? We got to give them key takeaways.
Right. So being able to let go, and back to Joe Dispenza, right? Who letting go of who you thought you were. What's he say? Forgetting who you.
Yeah, it's a process of forgetting of who you think you were, and
Yeah, basically.
remembering who you really are.
Right. And so that concept of letting go in order to grow is still a struggle. It's still a struggle. But when I see that I'm trying to grasp at things, I call myself on it and say, hey, bud, loosen up, tranquilo.
Yeah, yeah. No, it comes up for me too. Like, sometimes I'll push it too far on the work thing, or I'll do too much, and I'm like, hey, take a break, and my body will tell me, hey, you're getting tired, chill, go for a walk, go do something else. And when I ignore that, then, but lately, a couple of times, once you catch yourself a couple of times, and the pain of the old way, you find yourself taking that road less and less and less. And again, I love how you said it, like dying to the false self. You start dying to that old way. That old way starts to die off. That you stop taking that road.
Yeah, it ain't easy, and it's a work in progress, man. But for me, I would say the key for me personally is my daily practice reading the Word.
Yeah.
And so I'm always finding every morning, that is the first thing I do, Ray. I get out of bed, I do a rosary, and then I do my reading before I do anything else. And being in communion with God, being in communication, being in an active relationship, studying from the book, thinking about what I study, and then putting it into action, I feel better about letting go, because there's this 4,000-year-old information here that's actually more accurate than anything we have today. And I'm like, letting go to what's in here feels right to me.
In your prayer, do you pray for something? Do you just kind of sit there and commune? Because I've been doing that lately in my practice. I just kind of sit there and literally just commune. Like, I stop all thought, or like I'm in that area of practice now where I'm just, all thought stops, and I just want to commune with the divine. That's it. I'm not there. I don't ask for anything, right? This is the omnipotent, all-knowing, omnipresent. Like, what am I going to ask for that he hasn't already given me? Like, what
Right.
I'm going to tell him something he doesn't know. Like, really? So I just sit there and just really look to commune, look for a relationship, and really open up and have him direct me, and help me let go of all this stuff. Help me let go of everything that isn't the real me that he wants me to be.
That's tough. I'm not as evolved as you. I will. I mean, I like to use a lot of gratitude in my prayer time, and all the things I'm grateful for that he's provided us with. I like to ask for answers when I don't understand what's going on. So what am I trying to learn? What do you want me to do? Where am I supposed to go? Please give me the courage to do it. So I do ask. and give thanks, ask and give thanks often.
No, and there is some, I mean, there's time for me to kind of just sit there and commune. And then I do ask some things. I'm like, hey, what is your will for me? Like what, so I'll ask that. And then gratitude for sure. Right. Gratitude is, part of the practice. And I love that you're doing it multiple times a day. I think we'll go into our old ways if there's not a renewal of it, because you'll end up reverting back. Right. But this is part of it. Like, it's not like, oh, I fell off, like beat yourself up. No, just get back on the horse.
Right. Just get back.
Yeah, man.
He wants us back.
Yeah, we're all coming home, baby. We're all coming home. And I think we're also all helping each other get home. Man, I think we're early, JR, on this, but I think 5 to 10 years from now, maybe less, a lot of guys are going to be seeing this.
Yeah. Well, once the market turns and businesses get crushed, they're going to start asking different questions.
Yeah, it's happening now. Yeah, it's happening now. So, man, I'll share this with my group. What do you want to leave them with, man? What do if you could leave them with one thing, JR, out of everything we spoke about, what would you like to leave them with, my brother?
I think the eternal search for wisdom is in your power. You can read the Bible, you can read the Word, you can contemplate it, and you can live it, and it can transform you. But you gotta let go. You gotta let go and let Him drive.
Letting go and surrendering is really the hardest part.
For sure.
Yeah, man.
Every day.
Yeah.
It's an activity.
Yeah. It's a practice. It's a practice of surrendering. It's a practice of letting go. And I like that. The practice. It's a practice.
Thanks, man. Thanks for allowing me to hang out with you.